Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are opening up a stack of notes that, well, it essentially functions as a topographical map.
That's a great way to put it.
But it's not a map of a physical place, like a hiking trail or a city grid. It's a map of the human soul.
Yeah.
We are looking at one of the most famous stories in the Judeo-Christian canon, the story of Jacob, but we are viewing it through a lens that completely changes the color, the shape, and the texture of the narrative.
It really does.
Yeah.
If you think you know the story of Jacob the trickster, the guy with the coat, the wrestler, the father of the 12 tribes, you probably know the historical framework.
Well, the plot points.
You know the plot points.
But today we are looking at the commentary of Madame Guyon, and that changes the entire game.
It certainly does. And for context, because we have a lot of new listeners who might not be familiar with, 17th century French mysticism, let's set the stage a little.
Good idea.
Madame Guyon was a powerhouse. She was a central figure in what was called the Quietist movement. And she wasn't writing academic theology in some ivory tower. Not at all.
She was writing about the interior life, the visceral internal experience of the soul's union with God.
Exactly. And she was controversial in her time.
Yeah.
Hugely so, because she bypassed a lot of the external religious structures and went straight for the heart.
She spent time in the Bastille for her ideas.
She did. So when she reads Genesis, specifically Jacob's return to his homeland in chapters 31 and 32, she isn't seeing a guy moving livestock across a desert.
Right.
She isn't interested in the economics of sheep farming. She sees an allegory for the deconstruction of the human ego.
That is our mission statement for this deep dive. We are going to trace the transformation from Jacob, the grasper, the self-made man, the hustler, into Israel, the one who prevails with God.
And it's not a gentle journey.
No, according to our source material, this isn't a gentle self-help journey where you journal for 5 minutes and feel better. It involves anxiety, the stripping away of assets, fear, and a literal physical confrontation with the divine.
It is a process of subtraction, not addition. That's the key theme we're going to keep circling back to.
Subtraction.
Yeah. We usually think of growth as getting bigger, smarter, stronger. Guyon argues, through this story, that true power is found only when human strength is dislocated.
Dislocated. That's a visceral word.
It's a painful word, but necessary.
Well, let's unpack this. We have a massive amount of ground to cover. We are starting in Genesis chapter 31. Let's do a quick context check for everyone.
Okay.
Jacob has been living with his uncle Laban for 20 years. He arrived with literally nothing but a staff and the clothes on his back, running away from his brother Esau.
Who wanted to kill him?
Right. Now, 20 years later, he is a mogul.
He is the ultimate success story. He has 2 wives, Leah and Rachel. He has 12 children. He has massive flocks of sheep, camels, donkeys. He has servants. I mean, he has effectively built a corporation in the middle of the desert.
He's a self-made man, and he's done it by being smart. He's outsmarted Laban, who tried to cheat him 10 times. He's manipulated the breeding of the sheep to build his wealth. He is at the absolute peak of his game.
He's on top of the world.
But then, in verse 3, the dynamic shifts entirely. We get a command from God. The text says, "Return to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will be with you."
Now, historically, this just reads like a simple moving instruction. Your visa has expired, the contract is up, time to pack the U-Haul.
Yeah, time to go home.
But Guyon flags this as a critical spiritual intervention. She asks the question, why now? Why does God tell him to leave at the height of his success?
Yeah, that's a great question. Usually you leave when things go bad. You don't cash out when the stock is at an all-time high.
Precisely. Guyon points out that God acts here as a protective father. The text explicitly says Jacob had become extremely wealthy. Now, in our modern culture, and frankly in many religious circles, we equate blessing with wealth.
Totally. Hashtag blessed. Look at my new camel.
Exactly. But Guyon flips that logic on its head. She suggests that God looked at Jacob's comfort, his success, his assimilation into this foreign land of Haran, and saw it as a massive threat.
A threat. His success was a threat.
A huge threat. The foreign land represents the world, or the state of being distracted by external things. If Jacob stays there, he puts down roots in the wrong soil. He becomes a citizen of Haran, not a citizen of the promise.
So the command to return is actually a rescue mission.
It is. It's an intervention. God is saying, you are getting too comfortable here. Your success is about to eat you alive. It is time to go home.
Wow.
And allegorically, returning to the land of your fathers symbolizes the soul returning to its origin. The soul is made for God. When we get too attached to the foreign land, which represents our career, our reputation, our external achievements, we lose our way. We need to be pulled back to the source to find rest.
I love that twist. So the blessing isn't the wealth. The blessing is being pulled away from the wealth before it corrupts you.
Yes.
It's God disturbing your comfort for your own good.
And that disturbance is the beginning of the journey. You cannot stay in Haran, the place of exile, and find true rest. You have to go back. But going back isn't easy because you have to let go of what you built.
And speaking of what he built, we have to talk about the sheep. This is one of those details in the Bible that always confuses people, and Guyon's take on it is just, it's absolutely fascinating.
This part is brilliant.
In Genesis 31, verse 8, Jacob is talking to his wives about his wages with Laban. He says, "If Laban said, 'The speckled ones will be your wages,' then all the flocks gave birth to speckled young. But if he said, 'The streaked ones will be your wages,' then they all gave birth to streaked young."
It sounds like a genetic lottery that Jacob somehow rigged or, God rigged for him.
Right. Historically, it's about God ensuring Jacob gets paid despite Laban trying to cheat him. But Guyon, she goes somewhere totally different with this. She sees this as a lesson on spiritual fluctuation.
This is a profound insight into the human condition. I mean, think about it. Guyon looks at the changing flocks, sometimes speckled, sometimes streaked, constantly shifting colors. And she says, this is what the soul looks like before it arrives in God.
Wait, break that down for me. What does she mean by the soul looking like a speckled sheep?
Well, think about your own internal life. Is it consistent? Is it one solid color?
Definitely not. Not even close. It's a roller coaster.
Exactly. One day you wake up and you feel incredible, you feel light, you feel charitable, you feel close to God, you're ready to save the world.
Yeah.
The next day you wake up anxious, irritable, dark, and selfish. One moment you are full of faith, the next moment you are full of doubt. We are constantly changing colors. We are speckled. We are streaked.
And we usually hate that about ourselves. We think, man, if I were really a mature person, I wouldn't be this volatile. I would be solid.
Right. We judge the fluctuation. We see it as a moral failing. But Guyon argues that this fluctuation is simply a sign that we haven't yet reached the land of our fathers. We haven't reached the state of union with the unchanging.
So it's a sign of being on the road.
It is. As long as we are in the intermediate state, the journey, we are going to reflect the changing conditions around us. We're going to be speckled.
So the goal is, what? To be a white sheep. A solid color.
In a sense, yes. The goal is purity and simplicity. When a soul is fully united with God, the fluctuation stops. You aren't tossed back and forth by circumstances or emotions. You reach a state of stillness. But, and this is the comforting part, Guyon emphasizes that while we are on the road, seeing the speckled sheep of our own heart shouldn't discourage us.
That is actually really comforting.
It's just the landscape of the journey.
Because I think a lot of people feel like, oh man, I'm up and down, I must be failing. But she's saying, no, that's just part of the flock right now.
Exactly. It is a transitional state. It's not the destination. The destination is the pillar.
Which brings us to the next point.
Yep.
In verse 13, God reminds Jacob of something specific. He says, I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar and where you made a vow to me. Why bring up the pillar? I mean, that was 20 years ago. That's ancient history.
It's the origin point. The pillar represents the origin point of the relationship. Years earlier, when Jacob was running away from home the first time, he had that dream at Bethel, the ladder to heaven, angels ascending and descending. He woke up, set up a stone pillar, poured oil on it, and made a vow. By reminding him of this, God is calling him back to his first love, so to speak.
It's like a homing beacon. It's saying, remember this.
Yes. Guyon uses beautiful, almost liquid language here. She says God wants to bring the soul back to where it started so that the soul can be lost in God, like a stream flowing back into the ocean.
Yeah.
The pillar is the marker of that commitment. It's God saying, remember who you belong to. You don't belong to Laban. You don't belong to the economy of speckled sheep. You don't belong to the fluctuation. You belong to me. Return to the pillar.
So Jacob gets the message. He realizes he can't stay in Haran. He packs up. She takes his wives, his kids, his livestock, and he bolts. He doesn't even tell Laban he's leaving. He just ghosted him.
Which was probably wise given Laban's temper. He was not a happy boss.
Probably. But this departure reveals a really interesting contrast between his two wives, Rachel and Leah. And this is where the allegory gets spicy. Because usually in the story, Rachel's the heroine, right?
See the star.
She's the one Jacob loved. She's the beauty. Leah is the one he got stuck with through a trick.
That is the narrative tension in the romance of the story. Rachel is the movie star. Leah is the background character. But in the allegory of the soul, Madame Guyon flips the script entirely.
Let's set the scene. Genesis 31, verse 19. Laban is out shearing his sheep. Jacob is sneaking away. And the text says, Rachel stole her father's household gods. These are idols, teraphim.
Right.
Why does she do that?
Historically, there are all kinds of theories. Maybe they were deeds to land. Maybe it was superstition. Maybe she just wanted to stick it to her dad. But Guyon looks at this and asks, what does this say about Rachel's spiritual state?
Okay.
She identifies Rachel as the type of soul who is on the path of light or illumination.
The path of light sounds good, though. I'd sign up for that path.
It is good, to a degree. Rachel represents the soul that is beautiful, favored, and full of vision. She sees things. She has the spiritual experiences. She feels the highs. But she still clings to idols.
What does that mean practically? What's an idol in this context?
It means she is attached to the props of spirituality. The Rachel type of person loves the spiritual high. They love the experiences, the blessings, the feelings of God. But because they are attached to the feeling, they also hold on to external supports. They haven't been fully stripped of their desire for created things. Rachel steals the idols because she still thinks she needs them for protection or comfort. She hasn't learned to let go. She is mixing the worship of God with the reliance on the teraphim.
She's hedging her bets.
Exactly. She's spiritually diversified, but in a bad way. And then there is Leah.
Then there is Leah. In the text, Leah takes nothing but her children. No idols, no household goods, just the fruit of her body.
Which is a stark contrast.
And Guyon sees this as superior.
Oh, much superior. Leah represents the soul guided by the cross.
The cross.
Yes, the path of deprivation, of stripping. Leah isn't the favored one in the worldly sense. She knows rejection. She knows suffering. She has lived her whole marriage being the second choice. And because of that suffering, she has learned a critical lesson that Rachel hasn't. God is enough.
Wow, so the unfavored wife is actually the spiritual heavyweight here.
Correct. Leah requires no external props. She doesn't need the household gods because she has been forced to rely on God alone in her pain. She has been stripped by life itself.
And her children.
Her children represent the spiritual fruit she bears. Virtues, good works, love, patience. She carries the fruit, but she carries no baggage, no idols.
It's a radical reinterpretation. It suggests that the person who seems to have the harder life, the one who isn't dazzling like Rachel, might actually be further along the road to union with God.
Exactly. Because they have been forced to let go of everything else.
Right.
The Rachel soul is still trying to mix God with idols. The Leah soul has been purified by necessity.
It connects back to what we said earlier about wealth. The blessing isn't always getting what you want, like Rachel. Sometimes the blessing is the stripping, like Leah.
Precisely. That is a hard pill to swallow, but it makes sense in this framework.
Okay, so they are on the road, the whole caravan. Laban figures out they are gone. He is furious. He gathers his kinsmen and chases them for 7 days. This is a high-speed chase in the desert.
With sheep.
With sheep. And it looks bad. Laban has the manpower to wipe Jacob out.
It's a very precarious situation. Jacob is encumbered with children and nursing flocks. Laban is moving fast with what is essentially a raiding party.
But then God intervenes.
This is one of those moments that shows the good shepherd nature of God. It's Genesis 31, verse 24. God comes to Laban in a dream the night before he catches Jacob.
He says what?
He says, be careful not to say anything good or bad to Jacob.
Which is basically God saying, back off, don't even talk to him.
It is a divine restraining order. And Guyon highlights this to encourage the listener. She says this shows God's immense care for those who abandon themselves to him. Jacob is helpless here. He can't fight Laban. He didn't bring an army. He brought shepherds.
So he can't save himself.
He can't. But he doesn't have to fight. God restrains the enemy. He saves Jacob from wrath without Jacob lifting a finger.
It's that idea of surrender. If you try to fight your own battles, God lets you. If you surrender, God fights for you.
That is the core of the message. Guyon teaches abandonment, total surrender to God's will. When you abandon yourself, when you stop trying to control everything, God places a hedge around you.
So Laban catches up. They have this really tense conversation. He searches the tents for his idols, which Rachel is hiding.
He's sitting on them.
He's sitting on them, the ultimate power move. And eventually Jacob just unloads 20 years of frustration. He finally snaps back at Laban. And his speech, it's in verses 38 through 41, is incredibly revealing. I want to read a bit of it because Guyon makes a huge deal out of this.
Oh, boy, it's powerful.
Jacob says, I have been with you for 20 years. I did not eat the rams of your flock. I did not bring you animals torn by wild beasts. I bore the loss myself. And of my hand you required it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. This was my situation. The heat consumed me in the daytime and the cold at night, and sleep fled from my eyes.
It's a powerful monologue. He's listing all the suffering he endured to keep the flock safe. He's making his case.
And here, Guyon says, look at this portrait. This isn't just a grumpy employee venting his grievances. This is the archetype of the true shepherd.
The true shepherd.
She explicitly links Jacob in this moment to Jesus Christ.
Connect the dots for us. How is Jacob like Jesus here? That's a big claim.
Well, look at what he's saying. He says, I bore the loss. If a wolf attacked a sheep, Jacob didn't just say, oh well. He paid Laban for it out of his own pocket. If the weather was bad, Jacob stood in it. He absorbed the suffering to preserve the sheep.
That is the definition of the crucifixion, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absorbing the loss. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep.
He takes the heat of the day and the frost of the night, which Guyon interprets as the judgment and the trials of the world, so that the flock doesn't have to.
So he's not just a manager. He's a protector who takes the damage himself.
And the takeaway for the listener, especially for anyone who views themselves as a leader or a parent or a shepherd of any kind, is pretty stark.
It is. Guyon argues that you cannot claim to be a true spiritual leader or shepherd without this capacity for suffering and deep inner life. If you aren't willing to be consumed by the heat and frost, you aren't like Jacob, and you certainly aren't like Jesus.
You're a hireling.
You're a hireling. A hireling runs when the wolf comes. A shepherd bleeds.
That's convicting. We all want the title of shepherd, but we don't want the frostbite.
We want the wool, but not the wolves. Guyon is very strict on this. True interior life produces a strength that is willing to suffer for others. It's not just about mystical feelings, it's about sacrificial love.
So Jacob wins this round. He makes a covenant with Laban. They stack some stones, eat a meal, and Laban goes home. Crisis averted. Jacob must be feeling pretty good.
For about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe less.
Exactly, because it's out of the frying pan into the fire, and the fire's named Esau.
Right. Now we're in Genesis 32. Jacob is heading home, but home means Esau. And we have to remember, the last time Jacob saw Esau, Esau wasn't just mad. He was homicidal.
He was. The text says he told himself, the days of mourning for my father are near, then I will kill my brother Jacob. That's not an idle threat.
No. And 20 years might not have been long enough for that to cool off, so Jacob sends messengers ahead.
And the messengers come back with terrifying news. Esau is coming to meet him, and he's not alone. He has 400 men with him.
That is not a welcoming committee. That is a small army.
It is an escalation of threat. And notice the sequence here. Jacob just survived Laban. He probably felt a moment of relief, like, okay, I got through that. And immediately, a bigger, more terrifying threat appears.
Guyon calls these the hard battles. She notes that the conflict with Laban and the conflict with Esau are just preludes.
Preludes to what? What could be worse than 400 men coming to kill you?
To the real battle, the wrestling match with God. But before we get there, we have to deal with the fear. And Guyon offers a fascinating psychological insight here. She says we often fear imagined evils.
Imagine, 400 men with swords sounds pretty real to me.
It is real in a sense, but spoiler alert for those who haven't read the end of the chapter. When Esau actually arrives, he doesn't kill Jacob.
Right.
He hugs him, he weeps. The catastrophe Jacob imagined, the slaughter, never happens. But Jacob doesn't know that yet. He is consumed by terror.
And that's her point.
That's her point. We spend so much energy fearing the Esau's, the visible threats, the financial ruin, the rejection of people, the bad medical diagnosis, while being totally unaware of the real battle that is coming, which is the internal confrontation with God.
So we worry about the external stuff, but the real work is happening inside. The external is just, it's a tool.
The visible battles are scary, but superficial. The invisible battle is the one that changes you. God uses the visible fear to drive us toward the invisible encounter.
Jacob is terrified. He divides his camp into 2 groups, hedging his bets again. If he attacks one group, the other can run away.
Classic Jacob. Always has a plan B.
And then he prays. And this prayer in Genesis 32, verses 9 through 12, it's raw. It's not a polished liturgical prayer.
It is the prayer of distress. And Guyon loves this because it shows the utility of suffering.
The utility of suffering. What a phrase.
Yes, suffering has a use. It's not pointless. It forces Jacob to stop scheming and start remembering. Look at the texture of the prayer. He humbles himself. He says, I am unworthy of all the kindness and faithfulness you have shown me.
He would never have said that 20 years ago.
Not a chance. The old Jacob would have said, I earned this. I'm the smart one. Fear strips away his arrogance.
He also reminds God of his promises. He says, you said, return to your country. He holds God accountable to his own word.
Which is a valid form of prayer. It's not demanding, it's reminding. This is what desperation does. It clarifies our relationship with God. It makes us honest. It makes us grab hold of the rope.
Now, there is a specific phrase in this prayer that our source material just zooms in on. Verse 11, I fear he will come and attack me and the mothers with the children.
The mothers with the children.
To me, that just sounds like he's afraid his family is going to get wiped out, which is a completely legitimate fear.
Of course. But Guyon sees a deeper allegory here.
She does, and this is where we have to put on our mystical goggles. She interprets mother and children not as literal people, but as spiritual states within the soul.
Okay, break the code for us. What is the mother? In her view, the mother represents righteousness obtained by grace. It's the source, the womb of goodness in the soul. It's the core of your transformed nature.
And the children.
The children represent the good works, the virtues, the fruit that comes from that righteousness. So your patience, your kindness, your good deeds, those are the children.
So when Jacob says, I fear he will destroy the mother and the children, he's not just afraid of dying.
No, that's the key insight. He's afraid of sinning. He is afraid of falling from grace. Guyon argues that for the truly devout soul, the fear of physical death is nothing compared to the fear of spiritual death.
Wow.
Jacob feels so squeezed by the pressure of Esau that he fears he will lose his righteousness. He fears he will be forced to act out of character, to lie, to kill, to despair, to renounce his faith. He fears the death by sin.
That is a huge shift in perspective. He's saying, God save me, not because I want to keep breathing, but because I don't want to lose the goodness you've put in me.
Exactly. I am about to lose my virtue. I am about to lose my fruit. This pressure is too much for my own strength. He feels his spiritual integrity is on the chopping block.
That is the aha moment here. The prayer isn't about self-preservation in the physical sense. It's about spiritual preservation.
Yes. He throws himself entirely on God because he knows he cannot maintain his own righteousness under this kind of pressure.
It's the realization that I can't be good on my own.
Yes. If you don't hold me, I will fall. If you don't protect the mother and the children, the enemy will wipe them out.
And that desperation, that total surrender, sets the stage for the main event. Section 5, the wrestling match. This is the climax of the story.
The night of Peniel. This is one of the most mysterious and powerful scenes in the entire Bible.
Jacob sends everyone away. His wives, his kids, his sheep. He sends them across a stream called Jabbok. Verse 24 says, so Jacob was left alone.
Alone. That is the prerequisite for the divine encounter. You cannot wrestle with God while you are distracted by your possessions or your relationships. You have to be stripped.
He thought he could appease Esau with gifts. He sent wave after wave of donkeys and camels ahead of him as a massive bribe.
But now, the gifts are gone. The family is gone. He is in the dark. He is at his most vulnerable.
And then a man wrestled with him till daybreak. Now, the text calls him a man, but later Jacob says he saw God face to face. The prophet Hosea says he wrestled with the angel. So, who is this attacker?
Guyon is clear. It is God. It is the divine coming to attack the soul.
That sounds aggressive. It's jarring. We usually think of God as the comforter, the healer, the one we run to.
He is. But sometimes to comfort the soul, he must first conquer the self. Guyon calls this the final battle. It is fiercer than the battle with Laban or Esau because those were external enemies. This battle is against the source of strength itself, and it's a battle against Jacob's own nature.
Why does God attack him? What's the point?
To destroy his self-strength, to destroy his reliance on his natural ability. Think about Jacob's life up to this point. He has always been the guy who can fix it.
He can trick his father Isaac. He can handle Esau the first time. He can outsmart Laban at every turn. He's a master negotiator.
He's smart. He is capable. He is strong. He's a hustler. He's the guy who always has an angle.
The ultimate hustler.
And God says, that has to go. You cannot enter the promised land, the land of spiritual rest relying on your own hustle. You have to be broken. You have to come to the end of your own resources.
And the wrestling goes on all night. Jacob doesn't give up.
Which shows the tenacity of the human will. He is fighting for control. He is fighting to maintain his identity as the one who can win. But then, the turning point. The man sees that he cannot overpower Jacob, meaning Jacob's will is stubborn and he refuses to submit, so he touches the socket of Jacob's hip.
And wrenches it out of joint.
The dislocation. This is the crucial symbol. The thigh or the hip is the pivot of human strength. It's the largest joint in the body. It's how you stand. It's how you pivot to fight or run.
It's the center of his power.
It is. And by dislocating it, God ensures Jacob can no longer stand on his own ability. He literally takes out his support system.
Yes. And this leads to the ultimate paradox of this deep dive, which we mentioned at the top. To win this fight, Jacob has to lose his physical integrity.
He has to be broken to be usable. He has to be crippled to be crowned.
That is so counterintuitive. We spend our whole lives trying to get stronger, trying to fix our hips, not break them. We go to physical therapy for that.
It is the logic of the kingdom. Power is made perfect in weakness. As long as Jacob can stand on his own 2 feet, he doesn't need to lean on God. So
Yeah.
God takes away his ability to stand.
So the hip is out. Jacob is hanging on, probably in agony. He can't fight anymore. He can only cling. He's defeated.
He's defeated in his own strength. And in that moment of defeat, he actually starts to win. He says, I will not let you go unless you bless me.
The wrestling has turned into clinging.
And that is the shift God was waiting for. The fight is over. The embrace begins.
And the man asks, "What is your name?"
This is the moment of truth. It's not that God doesn't know his name. He wants Jacob to admit it, to say it out loud.
My name is Jacob.
And Jacob means?
It means deceiver. It means grasper. It means heel catcher. He is confessing his nature. I am the guy who tricks people. I'm the guy who manipulates. I'm the hustler.
He confesses his old identity.
And in that confession, the transformation happens. The man says, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel."
Section 6, the new name, Israel. Our source defines this as prince with God or powerful with God.
The Hebrew is rich. It implies struggles with God or God persists. But the implication and Guyon's focus is on the result of that struggle. He is now powerful with God.
But wait, he just got his hip broken. He is physically wrecked. He is weaker than he's ever been.
Yeah.
How is he powerful?
That is the beauty of it. He is powerful because he is broken. Guyon explains that the name change signifies the loss of Jacob's righteousness and strength and the gaining of God's strength. Because he has struggled with God and survived, because he submitted and clung to him, he is now clothed in God's strength, not his own.
So Israel doesn't mean I'm a strong guy. It means I am strong because I have God's strength in me.
Exactly. He is no longer standing on his own leg. He is leaning entirely on the divine. This is why the Israelites, the people of God, are called by this name. They're the people who are not strong in themselves, but strong in their God.
It's a collective identity rooted in this one man's brokenness.
Guyon quotes Exodus here. "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still."
That is the definition of Israel, the one who lets God fight. The strength of Israel is God fighting in them. Jacob could never have defeated Esau's 400 men.
No way.
But Israel doesn't have to worry about 400 men because Israel has the host of heaven.
That changes the whole meaning of winning. Winning isn't beating the other guy. Winning is losing to God so that God can beat the other guy for you.
Perfectly put. You have to lose the wrestling match to win the name. You have to surrender your Jacob nature to receive the Israel nature.
The story ends with this incredibly cinematic image. Genesis 32, verse 31. The sun rose above him as he passed Peniel, and he was limping because of his hip.
It is one of the most beautiful closing images in Scripture. It's like the final shot of a movie. You can just see it.
Let's break down the symbolism. First, the sun rising.
Guyon sees the sun as God himself, the true sun of all creatures. The darkness of the night struggle is over. The confusion is gone. The fear is gone. The sun illumination, understanding, presence rises upon him. He has survived the night.
But it rises on a man who is limping. The two are connected, the light and the limp.
Yes. The limp is the permanent mark of the encounter, is the evidence. Guyon says Jacob is destroyed, withered, and melted by this encounter.
Destroyed, withered, and melted. Strong words.
To the outside world, to Esau, to his wives, to his servants, he looks weaker. He's limping. He can't run. He's damaged goods. He's not the swaggering cowboy anymore.
No. But in reality, in the spiritual realm, he is stronger than ever before. He understands more than ever before, even though he might feel like he understands less. He is absorbed into God.
The limp is the proof of the power.
It is the trophy. It reminds him with every step he takes for the rest of his life that he cannot walk on his own. Every single step is an act of dependency.
I lean, therefore I am.
I lean, therefore I am. I like that. That's a t-shirt.
It's the posture of the true believer. And think about what happens next. Esau comes, the 400 men arrive, all that terror.
Yeah.
And what happens?
Esau runs to meet him, embraces him, falls on his neck and kisses him. They weep. The threat is gone.
The enemy becomes a brother. The danger evaporates. Because Jacob is now Israel, the dynamic has changed. The brokenness of Jacob disarms the anger of Esau. God honored the transformation.
So let's synthesize this journey. We've been all over the map. We started with the command to return, leaving the wealth and the speckled sheep of a fluctuating heart.
We moved through the stripping of idols, leaving the Rachel way of needing spiritual props for the Leah way of simplicity and naked faith. We saw the good shepherd who suffers the heat and frost for the flock.
We faced the fear of Esau, the terror of losing our mother and children, our righteousness and fruit. We realized that fear was just a prelude to the real battle.
And finally, we ended up alone in the dark, wrestling with God until our self-strength was dislocated, and we emerged as Israel, limping but illuminated.
It's a map of the human soul. It's saying that if you feel like you're being stripped, or if you feel like you're in a dark night wrestling with something you can't name, maybe you're just at Peniel.
Maybe the sun is about to rise. And maybe the injury you are sustaining, the loss of your job, the breakdown of your ego, the failure of your plans, is actually the making of your new name.
That brings us to our final thought for you, the listener. We usually pray for healing. We ask God to fix our weaknesses. We want to run marathons, not limp. We want to be the guy with the 400 men, not the guy limping across the river.
We do. We hate weakness. We view it as a defect, something to be overcome.
But this story suggests that perhaps the very thing we think is our injury, our limp, our inability to stand alone, that chronic weakness that forces us to depend on God every single day, is actually the source of our true power.
What if your lip is your greatest spiritual asset? Because it keeps you from running away from God. It keeps you leaning. And as long as you are leaning, you are Israel.
Something to think about next time you feel broken. You might just be turning into Israel.
For more spiritual resources, visit lokaken.ai.